Hey, Tribe, we're going to talk about upping workouts today. We always talk about modify them to adjust your needs. Today, we're going to talk about modify them to make them difficult, to help push your limits a little bit harder, and get better results out of your workouts. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Nadine?
Yeah, so I feel like I push this in, I mean, I think we all do, but I know especially these last couple weeks, I've been trying to kind of push that a little bit more in class. So if you have, for example, if you know you have a barbell weight that you use for thrusters every single time that you do thrusters, maybe try, and you're pretty comfortable with that, not too difficult for you anymore, maybe try adding 2.5s on each side the next time we do them, see how it goes, see if you can kind of level that up just a little bit and kind of push that weight a little bit more, and that will help you kind of get stronger. Same thing with dumbbell weights, and then same thing with like cardio workouts and stuff too, running, stuff like that. Kind of just trying to find ways to push yourself just a little bit more to develop those adaptations that you want, or develop more of the results that you want.
So what happens if I want to up my push-ups? I'm doing push-ups right now on my knees. Mm-hmm. I want to start working towards that full plank push-up that I've been trying to do for a while now. How do I go about doing that? I mean, it's easy to grab a 5-pound increase in dumbbell or a plate increase. That's easy. How's one way that I can help improve more of that gymnastic aspect, that plyometric, calisthenic, aspect of that?
So say, especially if you're doing push-ups on your knees, one thing that I think everyone should kind of make note of is are you getting full range of motion? Because a lot of times we're doing push-ups, and even if they're not too bad on our knees, maybe we're not getting full range of motion. Maybe we're not getting our chest to the floor every time. So try and get lower in that push-up if you're not getting your chest to the floor. If you are and on your knees, you're like, well, this isn't too bad anymore. Another way that you could do it is, I like the band in the pull-up bar type of variation for that. So you could just grab a light band and you are in that full push-up position. You just have that little bit of assistance, or doing a bar in the rack and have it pretty low to the floor, but not same level as the floor. So you're just slightly elevated to get yourself closer and closer to the floor, but you're still in that full plank position for the push-up.
One thing I like too is eccentric. So slowly lowering yourself all the way to the ground and then popping back up and then slowly lowering yourself to the ground.
That's a good way, and that's what I was thinking too, Cheyenne. So you could start in that good plank position, right? And do that eccentric down, and then switch over to your knees, and then do the knee push-up on the way up, and that kind of works too. So whether you want to choose a band for those push-ups to help keep those hips up, which now we're going to be loading a little bit more of that upper body, or whether we want to instill a little bit of that eccentric. I mean, I love eccentric work. Eccentric work is just
more of like that negative.
Such a burner. You know, that's a good way. So now we know how to kind of adjust our gymnastics or more of our calisthenics. We know we can go up a little bit higher, but at the same time, how do we know when we should go up? Like, I'm going to ask this one to you, Cheyenne. Like, how do you know when you want to increase that weight? Or like, what are some things that you do, or when do you go about increasing that weight?
When things begin to get too easy, meaning that if I'm not getting the same like if I'm not getting tired after the workout, and I'm not saying like always gauge things on how much you sweat, but basically how is my body feeling and how is my body recovering? And once I see that recovery time is taking less and less and less, I know that I can push myself a little bit more. As far as weights go, like when I was increasing like my shoulder press and everything, you always want to increase a little bit, like test out, but also so I look at a few things. I look at my rep range and I look at like sets. So more often I will increase my rep range or my number of sets before I increase the weight. And once that becomes too easy, so say once I get past even 15 reps at a weight, say 3 sets of that same weight, I know that I can increase it easily.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing too, especially that ties more into those move workouts where we are getting maybe a little bit more higher volume, and especially to our rebuilds, which usually we start off on a lower number, usually around like an 8 to 10. So we're kind of in that mix between strength and muscle growth. And then we usually up those reps to get it up to the 15, and then we kind of reset that down. Now, Nadine, Cheyenne was talking a lot about getting that rep range of like 3 sets of 15 and then scaling that weight up, which is awesome, really good. But if we're going towards like something that's strength, something that we only have like 5 reps of something, how do we know when we should be going up in weight with that?
So I would say if you're doing a workout and it's sets of 5, and you're doing those 5 like no problem. I always kind of gauge it off of how many more reps could I be doing. So if I do 5 and I'm like, I could knock out 10 more reps, this no problem. Okay, add more weight on because it's supposed to be heavy for a set of 5. And same thing, I add a little bit of weight on. I'm like, how many more reps could I knock out of this? Okay, I can knock out 5 more. Let's add a little bit more weight on. And that's kind of the way that I would go about it. And I would also kind of go about it too and how your position feels, where if you're doing like a deadlift, for example, and you do those 5 and it's tough, but you can keep a good position for those 5, then I would say that's probably a good weight. If you're doing those 5 and on those last 2, you start kind of like getting that background, you start letting the core go, then you should probably drop the weight down. That's a little bit too heavy, as in it's too heavy for you to be able to maintain your good position while doing the workout or while doing the movement.
Yeah, I think, both of them have valuable points, and there's a lot of freedom that can come along with that. So there is like that in between stage where, if you're finishing those workouts and you feel like there's more left in the tank, and maybe you are kind of quote unquote leading in the workout, whether that's you being like, if it's a workout that we have a set amount of work to get done, if you come to find out that you're getting it done before everybody else, maybe that's time to start upping up that weight a little bit or making those movements a little more challenging. And that's exactly like we could take those movements and make them more difficult, even if we don't add in extra weight or extra reps. We just, for instance, that push-up. How do we make a push-up? If you have a good plank push-up, elevate your feet a little bit. Now it's going to give you a little bit of humble pie, and you're going to have to drop those reps down, then elevate your feet a little bit more. But just changing that stuff up, or maybe, do push-ups with one leg off the ground. I know it sounds silly, but once again, we're creating small little adaptations to our body that are going to push the capability of what it can do. And I think exploring with that is very fun. Like some days you're like, oh my gosh, I went a little bit too heavy and this workout took a really long time. My lungs aren't hurting. My body is feeling that weight. And then the other days you're like, man, I chose a lighter weight. My lungs are through the roof, and I want to get a little of that muscle burn. But I always think that we should experiment, throughout the week. You always try to give yourself one day where you go like just a little bit heavier, or just be aware of that.
I think a lot of people, of course, is everyone gets excited when things get easier because you know that you're improving and it gets easier. But when you're in the middle of a workout, you want to hold yourself accountable and make sure that you are challenging yourself.
And I'm going to go back to you, Cheyenne, for a second too. We're talking about the good weather. It's a good time of year, the spring. People are going to be out. They're going to be, on a nice day, we're going to go out for maybe a hike or something like that instead of coming to the gym because we want to try and get our fitness. And like, what is something we can do to make that hike rather than just a casual walk? But we want to get that feeling of the gym workout in, but we want to get it in nature. How do we go about doing that? What are some things we could do?
So, it kind of goes into like, how do you feel at the gym? What kind of intensity are you getting in the gym, and how can you replicate that? If it's something like going on a hike, I know that if I'm carrying like a backpack or something, I'll add weight to my backpack, whether that's books or extra shoes, or even you can pick up rocks and throw them into your backpack, and that extra weight is just going to be that more taxing on your body, and that makes that more intense. Also looking for hills. I always like to make sure I'm going with somebody, hopefully someone who's a little motivating to really kind of push each other and add in that little of a challenge aspect. But what about you, Nadine?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people here have like the Apple Watches or like a Fitbit and stuff that kind of tracks your heart rate. So if you have one of those, you could kind of take a look, and because I know a lot of people that have them, they will check what their heart rate was during workout. So you could take a look at it and see what it was and see if you can kind of almost get your heart rate to that level or close to it. Because I'm also I'm very much like a numbers person. So like when I'm rowing or biking, I always tell people look at the watts or look at your calories per hour and stuff like that, and use that to kind of gauge your intensity. And that's what I do with those things. So you could totally do that with running if you're out running or if you're going for a hike, and kind of use a number game. Like, how can I get myself to this number, and use the number as the goal.
I think that's really good too. And something that I picked up for like my brother and a couple of my other friends who do like ultra marathons, when they go hiking in like White Mountains, what they try to do is hike the uphills and sprint the downhills. Now, one thing I will say, I would advise doing that on a trail that you know well. I wouldn't advise going out by yourself trying to sprint downhills. Yeah. We don't need injuries. You're gonna end up like me, end up looking like me, even though with leg surgery, even though that's not the way it happened. But yeah, doing stuff like that of just trying to push that pace a little bit harder on the uphills. I really like that idea with the Fitbit or the Apple Watch or the Whoop or something like that. Then you could also bring your backpack, throw some weight in there, or find a log and carry a log for a little bit. And at the same time, take a rest when you're on your rest areas, knock out push-ups. I know it seems silly and people are like, oh, it's only like 10 push-ups. Well, do that little bit of intensity.
I actually had a friend back in college who put on about 10 pounds during summer. And she's like, I don't understand why this happened. I was outside like way more than usual. And I told her, I'm like, well, take a look at like, what were you doing? She would go for walks, but that was about it in comparison to doing an intense gym workout. And I'm not saying that you have to come to the gym to have an intense workout or to get in shape or lose weight, but you have to match that intensity if you're going to replace that with going to the gym. And if you're one of those people that can't do that, I highly recommend still finding that environment where you can. And if that means coming to the gym, come to the gym.
Yeah, and what I think, I always talk about getting out to nature and finding fitness in nature too, because I think that there is a big difference between being like gym fit and life fit. And I'll give you an example. Like, you can come to the gym 5 days a week and be crushing your workouts. And then you can take like a 4-mile hike, and then your legs are sore in a different way. And the reason is like, you in nature, you're gonna be stepping on like rocks and sticks that are articulating your feet in different positions, making quick, fast reactions, even just like walking. You're gonna be having that. It's gonna be loading the body differently. The weight in the center of our center of balance is gonna be changed when you're on a trail. All those little things that you don't think about, that's the stuff that's going to be turning on those muscles and helping build that mind-muscle connection that we try to do as much as we can in the terrain that we have and our terrain around here, So I'm a big believer in like, yes, you want to be gym fit and we want to get that fitness in the gym to break up that life of our desk job or our other home. But at the same time, it is very important that try to get at least once a week, get out in nature, even if it's for a simple hour hike on a trail that's local, that's not even difficult.
Swimming, something in a pool, it's a great workout.
Swimming's another one, like a very low impact, but now you're changing the entire plane of your body and what you're doing. That's really good to work on your breathing too. I mean, that's the hardest part about swimming is learning how to breathe.
Yeah.
So Tribe, we gave you a couple tips to up the intensity of your workouts by, like Nadine was talking about. We can add more weight onto our dumbbells, onto our barbells, and also what her and Cheyenne were talking about of just finding ways to increase our calisthenics, whether that's, on a push-up that we're elevating the feet, whether we're going from an eccentric movement, dropping down to our knees to do the push-ups, or whether we go with banded or a pull-up or a barbell on a rig. No matter what way we want to mix those up, always try to create some sort of variation. At the same time, try to get out in nature, mimic your intensity that you would be having in the gym. If you're taking a rest day from the gym to go out in nature, so we have that Fitbit, that Apple Watch, we have the Whoop that you guys can look at. At the same time, when we're out on the trail, we could just be aware of what we're doing. Throw a backpack on, throw in something fun for 10 burpees is always fun. It's simple and easy when you get to the top. Do some handstands just onto the edge of the cliff or on the top of the summit of your place. But go have some fun out in fitness. But definitely try to push your limits and try to up that intensity of what you can do on a weekly basis. Just try to explore, and that's all about movement. Just exploring your body and seeing what you can do. Hope you guys like this episode. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't and like our videos. And we'll talk to you soon, Shroud.